DNA reveals the genetic ancestry of the Indians. And it'll be a massive mix of different things, especially with how the invasions and things throughout India's history has constantly been ups and downs. So, yeah, let's check it out. Let's check.
Six analysis.
Oh wait, let's see if I got the. Oh, I think the normal.
From the Indian subcontinent are revealing answers and even more questions about our species' past. Who were the ancient ghost populations that wove together and built the modern India? How did cultural practices found only in India reshape human genetics that led to the preservation of Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA lost everywhere else? Get ready and hold on to your genes. This is going to be a wild 50,000-year-old story. Take a good look at India. It is one of the most diverse places on Earth. 1.4 billion people, speaking over 780 distinct languages, and encompassing over 4,600 ethno-cultural subpopulations. It's not just a country, it's a continent's worth of human diversity, packed into one nation. But what if I told you, behind this incredible human tapestry, there is a vibrant and complex history. A story that connects every single person on that subcontinent today, not through history or culture or religion, but through their DNA. New research is allowing us to use DNA as a time machine to go back thousands of years to understand who were the ancient ancestors and ghost populations that built the modern nation today. And let me tell you, this story is crazy. During the research of this project, I found some fascinating insights that I was not expecting. Hey everyone, I'm Krusik, I'm a scientist, and if you're new to the Evo Bioscientific Journal Club, here we dive—
Oh, he's got a black kitty in the background. Just right there. He crawled into frame. A little black kitty right underneath his TV set. Oh, that's adorable.
into peer-reviewed literature, which encompasses new discoveries on population genetics, evolutionary biology, and molecular biology.
Yeah, that peaceful. Give it a few years. Give it a few years. Our cat is a wild one, everywhere, jumping around everywhere, breaking my displays and everything. But yeah, adorable. A few years.
If you, like me, are interested in these
well, if you notice, he keeps all his books up high, and there's like nothing to knock over except for probably this modem over here.
fields and want to keep up with fascinating discoveries, please consider subscribing to the channel. You won't want to miss our upcoming videos. And let me tell you, this one in particular is quite crazy. Okay, for decades, the genetic story of India has been a bit of a puzzle. We had clues and we had fragments of data, but we didn't really have the big picture. Why? Because we just didn't have the data. The vast majority of genomic research has been European-centric, individuals of European descent from the West sequencing their own genomes, which makes sense. However, that's changing. A massive study published this year has completely changed the game. Researchers performed whole genome sequencing in over 2,600 people from India, and their sampling represented dozens of different languages and captured individuals from rural, tribal, and urban communities. And what they found is just mind-blowing. In one fell swoop, they made 3 major discoveries. First, a treasure trove of genetic variants that were previously unknown to science. It's likely that many of these variants that they found exist only within the Indian subcontinent. Secondly, and truly bizarrely, a continent-wide island effect, which was not created by oceans. Oh no, this was created by culture. And third, some of the most intact stretches of Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA found anywhere across Earth. It's very weird that it was found here, but it does make some sense when we take into the context of the country, and I will explain that in this video. This is just huge, so let's break this down. Starting with the sheer scale of the genetic variants they discovered, the researchers found over 70 million.
Well, having the Neanderthal DNA makes sense. I mean, everyone else seemed to wander out and mix everywhere, as India has basically remained in place, even though it had different names, even though it had different states, even though it had different territories back in the day, different conflicts. Most of the people pretty much stayed there for thousands of years, right? I mean, it's just born there, stayed there, remained there. Of course, there were those that went out and mingled with other cultures and changed over time. But yeah, the majority just, every other nation has come and gone, been washed away, been rebuilt from scratch. But India's basically been sitting there.
Unique SNPs and indels, and get this, 30 million of these were new to science. They were never seen before and are likely specific for the subcontinents. This is not just about history, this is a massive leap forward for medicine, as these variants can help diagnose and treat rare genetic disorders found only in the subcontinent, and could also affect the diaspora worldwide. But first, let's talk about ghosts.
I like him. I like him. Freaking One Piece. Oh, I remember. Still one of the funniest scenes ever is when Luffy sees a zombie for the first time crawling out of a grave. And he walks over and he just starts pushing it back like, go to sleep. Go to sleep. Freaking love One Piece.
From a population genetics perspective and anthropological perspective, this new dataset added some key historical features to what scientists have referred to for many years as the Indian cline. Okay, cline is just a fancy word for gradient. Imagine a paint swatch, smoothly changing color from top to bottom. The Indian cline is a genetic gradient. It shows that generally speaking, the further north you go in India, the more genetic similarity you see to Western Eurasia, places like the Middle East and Europe. Whereas the further south you go on this cline, the less connection you see with Western Eurasia. This is a near smooth continuum.
Because back in the day, they had to travel down. Like, yeah, you travel down, you make deals with it. That's how it was. It just makes sense.
And that begs the question, what are the source populations that created this genetic cline? For years, scientists have spoken about two ghost populations that initiated this genetic cline. We call them ghost populations because they no longer exist as distinct groups, but their DNA lives on in their descendants. These two ghost populations are known as Ancestral North Indian, ANI, or Ancestral South Indian, ASI. Simple enough, right? The North group...
Oh my gosh, I can't say. Is that how it feels when I bump my desk? Is that how it feels? Because it's bothering me anytime he's talking and then the entire thing starts shaking. And it's like, okay. Yeah, this is DNA reveals the genetic ancestry of Indians.
And the South group mixed, which led to this Indian cline, or this linear pattern. But when we look into this new data, it blows the old story out of the water. Because when scientists look closer, the DNA of these ancestral groups, the ANI and the ASI, they discovered they were already mixed. And that led to the question, who were the ghost populations of these ghost populations? It's like a genetic ghost inception. Okay, let's build this from the ground up. Using data provided in this article, the genetic bedrock of the continent comes from a specific group.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is actually enjoyable. It is interesting. I need to do the DNA test on you. I need to. I need to get my wife's DNA. I'm curious. I'm really curious. I need to do my own, honestly. I pretty much know what mine is. Mine's gonna be incredibly simple. My wife is gonna be the one with like she's gonna be the one with the superior intellect DNA. I'm gonna be the one with the superior body DNA. Like, I have thick skin, I have better bone density, I'm taller, well, I'm a guy, so I'm stronger, obviously, just genetically stronger. But she has like the superior intellect. I got everything else, but she got the superior intellect. Honestly, the kid just needs to have your brain and everything else from me. But we're having a boy. Your brain and everything else from me. And then we'll have a genius. That should be how it works. That should be how it works. Your DNA is or your brain is far stronger than mine. It should outpower my brain DNA. Yeah, you have more dominant genes than me. I think it's my height, brown eyes, brown hair. Yeah. I have tiny ears. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Called Ancestral Ancient South Indian, or AASI. These acronyms are getting crazy. These were indigenous hunter-gatherer groups whose closest living relatives are the individuals from the Andaman Islands who still today live a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Thousands of years ago, these hunter-gatherers we refer to as ancient ancestral South Indian mixed with another group, ancient farmers who migrated from the west, most likely modern-day Iran. The mixture of these two ancient lineages created the ancestral South Indian ghost population. This is the foundation layer of the modern India. Then, later on, we're not too sure when, a new group emerged on the scene. Pastoralists from the Eurasian steppe, the vast grasslands of Central Asia. These steppe people mixed with the ancestral South Indians that lived in the northern parts of India or modern-day Pakistan. And this blend of steppe pastoralists and ancient South Indians who lived in the northern part of the subcontinent created the ancestral North Indian ghost population. So the main two ingredients of the modern India, ancestral North Indian and ancestral South Indian, were already mixed populations. The Indian cline, the near-linear continuum of ancestral North Indian and ancestral South Indian, is the mixing of these two ghost populations in different proportions over thousands of years. And when the researchers crunched the numbers, their models were on near perfect fits. They could explain the genetic diversity and distributions of their new data source of over 2,600 individuals from across the country using these three ancient lineages. So overall, the source populations of the modern India are comprised of the original Andamanese-related hunter-gatherers, the Iranian-related farmers, and Eurasian steppe pastoralists. This is an incredible and elegant story for such a complex and large population today. India is not just a north-south axis. What happens when you look east? Researchers found a different story that the DNA of these populations were saying. The researchers found a very strong and direct link to East Asia. This lines up perfectly with another piece of evidence: language. Many of the languages within this region belong to the Austroasiatic language family and are thought to have originated from Southeast Asia. So you have a genetic link and a linguistic link, pointing in the same direction. It cannot be more obvious. This is a strong ancient connection to seafarers that may have traveled the Bay of Bengal over 1,000 years ago from Southeast Asia. And thanks to this study, we can even put a date on it. The researchers estimate gene flow from Southeast Asia entered into West Bengal, or the ancestors of the individuals from West Bengal, around 50 generations ago. And if we do the math, that's roughly 1,500 years ago. Okay, pause. How incredibly cool is that? We're not just talking about some distant echo from the past, we can put a direct timestamp on this migration event. And it wasn't that far long ago either. This was during the Gupta Empire in India and the northern and southern dynasties in China. We can use modern genetics and techniques to see the faint echoes of human migration over 1,000 years ago during recorded history. How incredibly awesome is that? Through genomics of the...
That's more scary than anything. Oh, technology is amazing. Technology is amazing. It allows us to paste things together from the past. We'll never truly know exactly how everything happened, but just the ability to check people's DNA and tell exactly how mixed people are. That's why I'm interested to see my wife's genetic profile. Mine is going to be incredibly simple. Incredibly simple, like Native American, Hispanic, and white. White. Well, yeah. It's white. White doesn't matter. White doesn't matter. Oh my gosh.
The modern population. We have found so much. It's a continent-spanning story of ancient mixing events. Ancient hunter-gatherers meeting farmers, steppe pastoralists sweeping in from the north, seafarers arriving from the east. It paints a picture of India as a great melting pot from which the modern-day Indians descend from. Well, that's when the story takes a sharp, fascinating, and frankly very uncomfortable turn in the opposite direction. If India's deep history is about mixing, why, when we look into the genetics of the last few hundred or even few thousand years, we find the exact opposite? If the genetic diversity of India was a cocktail with lots of ingredients added to it, eventually it stopped stirring. The answer is a powerful cultural force that has left one of the most unique genetic patterns on the planet. I'm talking about the widespread and ancient practice of endogamy. This is frankly fascinating, very odd, very somewhat disturbing, but very fascinating from an anthropological viewpoint. Thousands of years, many communities across India have had strict rules on who they can and cannot marry, restricting their gene pools into a tight subgroup of people.
I was curious on what he was getting to. It's just like, oh, all right, yeah, the strict, you cannot marry this person because of this, you cannot marry this person because of this. So it keeps the gene pool more, like with other cultures, it just didn't matter. It didn't matter. It's not important. It's not important. So the DNA gets very muddled.
That has been pre-selected.
Okay, this plays a major role in terms of marriage because I'll tell you, we are millennials and we're almost on that age of getting married. People are not giving a damn about the person and the relationship and how to build that. Rather just like, you fall under the same caste, you fall under the same financial bracket, let's go for it.
So the thing is, your caste is associated with your economic status. It's associated with which languages you speak. It's associated with where you grew up, what kind of pop culture you were exposed to, what kind of references you understand, the circles that you move in, socially speaking, the school you went to. So yeah, it has a huge effect on who you date because it has a huge effect on who you're exposed to at all to begin with, who you're friends with, who you work with. I think that a lot of people who don't actively, consciously think that they only want to date within a particular caste still end up dating within a particular caste. And it's not entirely a coincidence, it's systemic.
why is it so important in Indian society to stay within the same caste? Could you explain the cultural background?
So only a few castes, only the ritually upper ones traditionally are landowners, for example. They're the ones who traditionally have higher paying jobs and things like that. When you have intercaste marriage, there's more distribution of those resources, which a lot of people are against. It also has to do with an idea of ritual purity, which again, some castes are considered to be more pure than others. And
It's funny. I'm hearing it, and all I hear is racism, 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 racism. It's like, I get it. I get it. It helped stabilize the gene pool. I get it. You're marrying your cousin. I get it. Because eventually everyone ends up related when you keep marrying within the same community. Everyone ends up related. There's a reason why a lot of cults end up absolutely inbred. There's a reason why a lot of like the Amish people end up marrying like their cousin, because there's no one else available unless it's their actual sibling. Sure, the purity is cleaner, but it just I hate the sound of caste. I hate it. It sounds so disgusting. It just like, why? I understand hating people. Go ahead, hate a group of people, but every individual person is completely different. You can't just, you can go ahead and hate a group of people, but don't hate individual people. Well, unless they've done heinous things. I mean, I guess you can hate individual people, but give individual people a chance. Don't give people a chance, give the individual a chance.
caste dating and marriages and contact is supposed to pollute or cause them to be impure.
And in many cases, this even includes consanguinity, or marriage between close relatives. Now, from a modern
Yep. Like I said it. Oh my gosh.
medical perspective, consanguinity is a bad idea. It really restricts the gene pool and encourages rare hereditary genetic disorders to be more commonly occurring within offspring. But from a population genetics and anthropological viewpoint, this is very fascinating because it creates something known as
Yeah, well, you can say caste is not followed, but there still are a lot of communities that follow that kind of thing, especially in the rural areas. A lot of things that have been done for hundreds of years is hard for people to just stop. The more civilized areas, I say civilized, but I don't really mean civilized. I just mean the more populated areas are the more accepting because they just have to be. Because they're so used to just seeing all different walks of life. But if you go to the rural areas, which are more isolated, you will run into that kind of thing. You will you will run into that kind of thing. Buddha tried to remove caste system from India, but he died from eating rotten pork pig at age of 32. Indians respect Buddha, but Sin Halsi, Sri Lankans hate Indians, even Buddha from India, but Sri Lankans hate Indians, especially Tamils. Well, because they're right there. They hate them because they're right there. They're the closest to their island. Sri Lanka's an island, right? Yeah. Well, it's an island, okay? Just like crap. What? Australia. Thank you. Yeah, Australia. That's an island. Yes. It's an island. Even Antarctica is basically an island. Oh my gosh. But yeah. I just view something like caste disgusting. I just do. And again, people always have biases. People always have biases. Like I always say, there's nothing wrong with being racist. There's nothing wrong with being racist. Just be aware that you're a racist. Yes, I'm a racist. That's why I married my wife. She's just as racist as me. No, because it's just like I've always been like of the mind of like people need to intermix. I mean, my father's from Mexico. My mother's white, so she's white, so it doesn't matter. But it's just like I see that, and it's just like it strengthens the gene pool overall as cultures mix, as people become stronger. Like my father's short, my mother's short, my grandparents were short, but me and my brothers are all over 6 foot because the genetics are just far stronger in us than my two parents alone. I don't know how it happened. I'm not the biologist here. My mother, I always do that. We need to not have kids. That's what we need. My wife is the one with the high intellect. The high intellect. She'd be able to explain like why the gene pool is the way it is, why me and my brothers are so tall, why we have just why. She's the smart one. She's the smart one. I think in India, Sri Lanka relationship would be UK and Ireland. Oh yeah. Yeah, just like how UK and Scotland were kind of the same. White meaning Caucasian or pale. White Russian, Fitzpatrick scale 1. What do you mean by white? White. White means Caucasian. White. It don't matter. It don't matter. It really don't. Yeah. When I finally do my DNA test, I'll know. Yeah, but I always just say I'm white. I'm an American white man. That's it. It doesn't matter where my father's from. It doesn't matter where my grandmother's from. It doesn't matter about. No, I'm white. I'm white. Just look at me. Yeah, I'm gonna post it everywhere when I find out. Yeah, I'm 30% Native American. I'm 40% Hispanic. No, it's not important.
Founder effect. Okay, let me explain what founder's effect is. Imagine a small group of people, let's say 50, leave the mainland of a landmass and decide to exist on an island thereafter. This small group of people will only have a fraction of the total genetic diversity found in the mainland. As their population grows over the next 100 years, and assuming there's no gene flow from outside of this island, everyone living on that island will be the descendant of the original 50 founders. This means the unique genetic
And they're all interbreeding over time.
quirks of the original 50 founders would be amplified in their descendants. That is classic founders effect. For example, if half of the individuals that founded that island had blue eyes, whereas only 10% of the people on the mainland had blue eyes. Blue eyes will become a much more dominant feature on individuals on the island when compared to individuals on the mainland. Now, looking at India, there are thousands of communities that for centuries or even for thousands of years have acted as cultural islands. In most cases, they were not isolated by geography either. They were isolating themselves based on their social norms and practices that they've put on themselves. They were living right next to each other for centuries, but not mixing their genes. This has created thousands of distinct founder effects all across the population of the Indian subcontinent. And it's absolutely insane.
It's a mixture.
Yep. I had to go in India and kidnap my own. I had to because this would not be allowed. This would not be allowed.
But it froze. And the freezing happened 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, and it froze because of cultural change. The cultural change happens, which locks in the caste system, and people freeze and they stop mixing very much. And so what you see is instead of people collapsing to a point, which is what you see in Europe, you see this gradient forming and it's stable. And because of the enduringness of the caste system, which is documented in the early texts like the Rig Veda, you actually have a snapshot going back a couple of thousand years without this continuing change.
Thanks to this high-resolution data from this new study, we can see literal proof of endogamy written on the chromosomes. The specific genetic signature we look for is called identity by descent, or IBD. Think of it this way, you have a set of chromosomes, one from your mother and one from your father. They also have a set of chromosomes, one from their mother and one from their respective fathers. But if your mum and dad share a recent common ancestor, let's say they share the same father, there's a good chance that you'll inherit the exact same stretch of DNA from both your mother and father. When scientists scanned for these IBD signatures.
Oh my gosh, that just sounds so wrong to me. That just sounds so. I found out, like, I worked at a place, and there was someone telling me, it's just like, hey, I'm gonna tell you, there were two people who got married, and they like, it was at the wedding where they found out that they were cousins, because I think that places have done jokes like this, but they would always talk, like, one side of the family would call their grandmother like one thing, and the other side of the family would call their grandmother another thing. And it wasn't till the wedding to where the grandmother got there and realized that it was her grandchildren getting married, because one lived in California, the other's family was in Texas. So far apart, they lost contact with each other. Just the grandmother everyone would call, because she's still a long living family member. It's always good to keep in touch with their parents' parents. And yeah, they found that out, and it was just like, well, we're already here, might as well get married. And the kids have like not terribly high functioning autism, but they have like more mental deficiencies than really the normal kids. They have some problems because that happens. That happens, and they are just cousins. But yeah, I heard that. I found it so funny. And then the person's like, oh, it's this person here. It's just like, I was like, but they're such a good couple. They're cousins.
What they found in the Indian population was just staggering. Well, let's put this into context. On average, in East Asians, Europeans, and Africans, they have, on average, 4 to 6 centimorgans. That's the units used to measure chromosomes.
Titanic too? Oh yeah, I heard something about them building a second ship. I mean, that name doesn't prove all that good for, well, with the state of the first Titanic. But yeah.
Length that are identical by descent. Longer measurements are indicative to more frequent and recent consanguous relations. Care to have a guess for the average IBD in India? 29 centimorgans. Let that sink in. That's roughly 5 times the amount seen in other parts of the world. It's a direct and measurable genetic echo of endogamy, a social practice which has shaped the DNA of over 1 billion people. It's history not written in the stone, but written in our own biology. So to my Indian friends, if you need a strong reason not to follow the bloodline and you're having trouble breaking it to your parents, this paper can give you a great out for having a non-Indian partner. The powerful cultural force known as endogamy.
Maybe you should send this video to your family. Yeah. They don't care about the science. They just care about the fact that it's culturally shamed.
Has created these long stretches of identical DNA in a lot of Indians, and these can act as timestamps for the last few thousand years. But it didn't just preserve recent.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If I was black, I would definitely not be allowed. Yeah, definitely not. Well, that and I don't think I had an issue with anything. Like you watch all those videos of like foreigners going to India and then being all surprised by everything. For me, it wasn't surprising because my father would always tell me stories about Mexico, about his mother cooking. Like they basically lived in a shed. They'd basically cook on a regular pull-out gas stove. Mother would, my abuela would make everything. And it's just like, I grew up hearing those stories, and I go to India and it's just like, okay. It's like, no, it's like, okay, it's not a big deal. It's all the same. The only thing that's annoying is like getting the burners. I hate going there with a lighter and then it blows up. I was so used to just turning the knob and having the igniter light it for me. That's the only difference. That's the only difference.
History. Oh no, it accidentally preserved something much, much older. Echoes of genetic encounters that happened over 50,000 years ago with humans which weren't quite Homo sapiens. I'm talking, of course, of our ancient cousins, Neanderthals and Denisovans. Quick refresher, we know that...
I have never heard of a Denisovans before. I've heard of Neanderthals before, but never heard of that before.
All humans that migrated out of Africa met and mingled with other archaic hominins. And as a result, pretty much all non-African people walking the earth today carry between 1 to 4% of their DNA with these ancient relatives. So, based on this, the researchers asked the obvious question. Well, obvious to me, but I think it's an obvious question. How much genetic flow was between Neanderthals, Denisovans, and the ancient Indians? To figure this out, you needed a baseline. For this, they used the genomes from sub-Saharan populations in Africa, who have very little, if any, DNA from Neanderthals and Denisovans. And if you're curious to know why that is, I go over this topic in detail in my video about the Stone Age in Africa, which I'll link down below and it's in the card above. So the researchers crunched the numbers and found that on average, people from the Indian subcontinent have about 1.5% of their genome derived from these archaic hominins. Broken down even further, that's about 1.4% of their genetic variants from Neanderthals, and a much smaller slice, 0.1% of their genetic variants from Denisovans. And if you're curious...
Bro, is people living in USA lucky than people living in Mexico, bro? What? Yeah, my dad hates the state of Mexico. hates it. Sure, he had a brother that chose to live there after he came to the U.S., but yeah, my dad hates it. Hates it there. I mean, he wishes like his home would still be good and everything, but he hates it there.
About how genetic variants from Neanderthals and Denisovans have an effect on our cells. Give the video a thumbs up and I'll make a molecular biology video going into this topic. Now, to put this into context, Indians generally have pretty similar levels of Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA to Europeans and people in the Americas. They have a lot less Neanderthal DNA than East Asians, and they have way less Denisovan DNA than Oceanians, who are the world champions of having Denisovan ancestry. So you might be wondering, okay, cool, Indians have some Neanderthal and Denisovan, but it's nothing special. Why are we talking about this in an Indian genetics video? But that's when the story of endogamy comes roaring back in the most unexpected way. The researchers found a scientific jackpot for Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA. Remember how endogamy created those cultural islands? Preserving long intact stretches of DNA which we measured by IBD? Those don't just apply to recent DNA. It acted as a genetic time capsule for more ancient segments too. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you're trying to reassemble a lost ancient book, and all you have are tiny fragments, a word here, a sentence here, scattered across thousands of different libraries across the world. It's incredibly difficult to piece together the story based on these tiny fragments. After over 50,000 years of reproduction, the ancient DNA has been chopped up and shuffled into smaller and smaller pieces. But then you get to the Indian subcontinent and it's a different story, because of their unique history of endogamy. You don't just find a single word, you find whole paragraphs, sometimes even entire pages, of ancient Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA perfectly preserved. What exciting times we're living through. We are living through a revolution in our ability to read the story written in our own cells. And if you want to be there right alongside the researchers as they piece together these new chapters.
That's interesting. It makes me want to do my DNA. Well, my DNA testing wouldn't be that exciting at all. At all. But I would like to learn my DNA. I would. I'm more excited to see my wife's DNA. That would be more interesting. Bro, Neanderthals have high sex addiction. I read somewhere. I don't know. I just know they would walk out of their cave, club a woman over the head, and take her back to the home with her. And then that's how they found themselves a woman. At least that's what I understood. Bro, fast forward more 2 times to react to video fastly. Yeah. I was like, this is going slow. Why the heck is he talking so slowly?
You guys got a video? It's so bad.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Wait on that.